How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Ayin, Daf 70 of Masechta Kiddushin. Friends, yo friends, friends. Alright, today we're studying Daf Ayin. Dude, let's just go for it. I guess it's like a Godic E, and like, it's pretty big. Let's just do it. Alright, so start at the top of the daf, Ayin Amud Aleph, all the way at the top of the daf. Gerei Bachrure, and there were proselytes and freed avodim. Minolan, how do we know this? Amr of Chizdis, as of Chizd Amakov, Chola Nivdol mitumas Goya Oretz Aleim. Alright, and anybody who is separated from the Tumas Goya Oretz to them, so I guess that includes proselytes and I guess avodim that went free. Mamzere, I don't know if there were mamzers. Minolan, how do we know this? Dichsiv, as the pasuk says, Vayishma Sanbalat Achoroni. Sanbalat Achoroni heard Vitovia Eved Amoni, and Tovia, the Ammonite Eved. So we see that Tovia was an Eved. Dichsiv, and the pasuk says, Kirabim BiYehuda Baile Shvualo. A lot of the people in Judah had were close to Tovia, the Eved. Kichosnu l'Shchania ben Aruch, because he was the son-in-law of Shchania ben Aruch. V'Yochanan bno, and his son Yochanan, lokach es bas Meshulam ben Brechia, married the daughter, or took, whatever was with, the daughter of Meshulam ben Brechia. So we see that this Eved Be'etzim, married or had a relationship with a Jew. So Ksaver Oved Kochavim ve'Eved Haba bas Yisrael Havlad Mamzer. And our Mishnah assumes that an Ovid Kochavim, or an Eved, who has a baby with a Bas Yisrael, that baby is a Mamzer. So that's how we know that there were Mamzerim over there. But the Gemara asks a few kashas. So that makes sense. If you say that an Eved who has a baby with the Bas Yisrael, the child is a Mamzer. Havlad kosher, but according to the opinion, it says that child is kosher. So then what? How do you know that they were mamzerim? Visu, and more so. How do we know that they even had children? Okay, fine. So they had a relationship with each other. It doesn't say anywhere that they had kids. So how do you know that they were actually mamzerim? Dilma lo avu leibani. Maybe they didn't have any kids. Visu, and more so. And how do we know that they had the kids in Bavel and then they made Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael? Usliku. Dilma Hosam Havu. Maybe they were already in Eretz Yisrael, in which case they didn't make Aliyah with Ezra. So too many kashas on that. Ella Meocha, rather from here. Veila Olim Mitel Melach. These people made Aliyah from Tel Melach, Tel Charsha, Kruv, Odon, V'imer, different places. And they weren't able to tell about their fathers and kids in Yisrael if they're from the Yidden. Tel Melach. What's Tel Melach? Elu b'nei Adam shedom ma'asem l'ma'asis dom. So those are the people that are similar to like ma'asis dom. By ma'asis dom, it was a whole mess over there. Everybody was sleeping with each other, mamzerim left and right. Shenefcha l'tel, where am I? Shenefcha l'tel Melach. That stone, of course, became a pile of salt. Tel Charsha. Ze shekori abba vima mishas koso. Tel charsha is like to be lahachrish, to keep quiet. So ze shekori abba vima mishas koso. Right, a shtuki. Right, that you have this kid who says, "Oh, father," and his mother's like, "Shh, keep quiet. Might not be a dad." V'lo yochlu lahagid beis avosim v'zarim. They weren't able to say who their father was and their children in Yisraelim if they were from the Yidden. Zeu asufi. This is the Asufi Shinesaf min Ashuk, who's gathered together from the Shuk, who's scooped up from the Shuk. Shuk Machni Yehuda. Kruv Adon V'imer Amar Babo says Amar Adon, that the Eibishter says, Ani Amarti, I said Yisrael lefanei chashuvim kechruv, that I wanted the Yidden should be important in my eyes like the Kruvim, like those the Kruvim, like angels. But they made themselves like a nomer, like a leopard that apparently they're not monogamous. Alright. Ikadami, those who say, Amr Babo, says Babo, Amr Adon, the Eibishter says, even though the Yidden made themselves like a leopard, nonetheless, they are chashuv in my eyes like a kruv, like an angel. Wow. Reframe it. A reframing. Instead of I wanted them to be a certain way and they turned out shver, fakert. Even though they're shver, in my eyes, they're gewaldig. Amar Rabba says, Rabba Babachano, Kolanose Isha Sheino Ogeneslo, a fellow who marries a Isha Sheino Ogeneslo. I don't know, like somebody who's not supposed to marry. It's meaning somebody who would still Kiddushin, but he's not supposed to marry. Alright. I don't know, maybe like a fellow marries a mamzer or something. Mamzeres. So maybe something like that. So Maila Olav Akasuv. Oh man. Yeah, it's getting late. It's been hard. I'm like still catching. I don't know. I'm like, whatever. Yeah, it's like getting late over here. So Maila Olav Akasuv Ki'ilu Charoshel Chololim Kulo Vizaro Uzro Melach. So a fellow marries somebody who he's not supposed to marry. It's like he plows the entire world and seeds it with salt. Shenemar, as the Pasuk says, Ve'ela Olam Mitel Melach Tel Charsha. And those are the people who made aliyah. There was like a pile of salt and a pile of plowing. Fellow marries a fella just for her money. Havyon lo banim shenim uganim. He's gonna have children that are not super gevaldik. Shneimah, as the pasuk says, Ba'Hashem bagadu. Babylon. Ba'Hashem bagadu kibanim zarim yaladu. That they rebelled against the Eibishter and they had, I don't know, not so gewaldige kids, and I guess Ba'Hashem bagadu means that they like didn't marry properly because they only did it for money, and then the kids weren't so stark. V'shema tomar mammon palet. Maybe you can say, but at least you'll be able to salvage the money. Tamlomer ata yochlem. Yeah, ata yochlem chodesh es chelkeim. No, they're only going to be able to eat their portion, the money, for a month. V'shema tomar chelko v'lo chelko. Maybe you'll think, okay, fine. Maybe only his the nichse tzon barzel will be affected, but her nichse melug will be spared. Tamlomer chelkeim. No, it says both of their portions, his and hers. V'shematomar lizman meruba. Maybe you can say, well, at least the riches, the wealth will last for a long time. Tamlomer chodesh. It says 1 month. My mashma, what does that mean? Amar Nachman Bayitzchak chodesh nichnas v'chodesh yotze umamonim ovan. Comes in the month, comes out the month, and the money is gone, all of it. V'omar Rav bar Rav Ada v'Amila Amar B'Sala Amar V'Amnuna. A fellow marries a fellow who is not appropriate for him. Eliyahu Kovso, Eliyahu Novi ties him up. V'Akadosh Baruch Hu Rotzo, and the Eibishter whips him. Vitani, we learn in the Brayso Al Kulam, Eliyahu Kosev, V'Akadosh Baruch Hu Chosim. On all of them, Elijah the prophet writes a document and the Eibishter signs it. It says in the document, Oilo lefosel ezaro. Woe is to a fellow who makes his offspring apostle, v'lefogem es b'shpachto, and he makes his mishpacha, he makes his family not gewaldig. V'lanose isha she'eno ogeneslo, and if a person marries a fellow marries a fellow who is not right for him, who is not appropriate for him, Eliyahu Kovso, Elijah the prophet ties him up, binds him up. V'Akadosh Baruch Hu Rotzu, and the Eibishter whips him. V'chol apostle, anybody who goes around, apostling other people, rest assured, he himself is apostle. Ve'enu medaber b'shvach olam. And a person like this who's apostle, and he goes around telling everybody that they're apostle, and he never speaks anything nice. He's always negative and accusatory. V'amar Shmuel b'mumo posel, says Shmuel, he's probably gonna accuse other people. Babylon! Oh man, I gotta stop the video for that. Alright, V'amar Shmuel b'muma posel. Says Shmuel that most likely he is, accusing people of that which he himself is. And we're going to see an example of this now-ish, actually. How Gavra, there was a certain fellow, that was from Nardoya, and he went to the butcher in Pumpedi. So Amalu, and he said to them, Havuli bistra, give me meat. Amule, they said to him, Nitar, wait a second. Adishakul shmoe de Rav Yehuda bar Yecheskel. Why don't hey, I don't know how they do things in the Ardoya, but over here in Pumpedi, so we wait in line. Chill out, take a chill pill for a second. We're first serving. Somebody's in line in front of you, and that person is the attendant of Rav Yehuda bar Yecheskel. Balbayon. Dang, I'm like doing a lot of balbayoning. And then after we serve him, we'll serve you. Omar, and says this fellow, Man Yehuda bar Shviskel de Kadem li de Shakel min Kamoy. Ho, fighting words. This fellow got a little chutzpahdik. He says, Yehuda bar Yecheskel, more like Yehuda bar Shviskel. Ozlo Amrulei, they went and they told on this fellow to Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda Shamte, so Rav Yehuda excommunicated the fellow. Amrulei, and they said to Rav Yehuda, Rogel Dekari Inche Avde, this Nudnik, turns out he was a Nudnik, he goes around calling other people Avodim. So Rav Yehuda then immediately announced that this fellow, this Nudnik, is an Evid. Also, Azbe Ladino, the Kami of Nachman. So now this Nudnik got very offended that Rav Yehuda slighted him, he excommunicated him, he called him an Eved. So he went to Rav Nachman, who was an Ab Bezdin. He was also the son-in-law of the Beit Nesiya, but I think the Beit Nesiya, was the same as the Reish Galusa, I think. So this Nudnik went to Rav Nachman, and he asked Rav Nachman to summons Rav Yehuda to Bezdin. So I see Piska Dazmano, so I'm telling you, like every 2 lines, another Babylon. What should I do? Should I pause the video for the Babylon? Should I just power through it? Just power through it, otherwise I gotta pause the video every 2 seconds. So also the Kame, wait, where am I? Okay. So also the Kame, where am I? The Kame of Nachman. So I see Piska Dazmano. So they brought a summons to Rav Yehuda to go to the Bezdin by Rav Nachman. Also Rav Yehuda the Kame of Huna. So Rav Yehuda goes to Rav Huna. Amarle Ezel lo Ezel. So Rav Yehuda is like, what the heck is going on? There was some Nudnik was at the butcher store, and now I have to go to Bezdin to Rav Nachman. What is this? So Amarle, so Rav Huna says to Rav Yehuda, Mezel mi bailach lemezel. Look, you don't technically need to go, mishum degav rabbi, because you're a great rabbi. Rashi says something very interesting. 3 lines before it gets wide. Shata gadol mimenu. You're greater than Rav Nachman. Very interesting. Rav Huna says to Rav Yehuda, you don't need to go to Rav Nachman's Bezdin because you are actually greater than Rav Nachman. Interesting, because Rav Nachman and Rav Yehuda were both students. It's the same generation. They're both students of Rav and Shmuel. Rav Huna was a student of Rav. So Ela Mishum Yikara the Venesiya Kumzil. But nonetheless, Rav Huna recommended that Rav Yehuda should go to Bezdin, should go to Rav Nachman, because Rav Nachman represents the Bezdin, represents the Beit Nesiya, and therefore, out of honor for the Beit Nesiya, you should go. Also, Ashkechei de Ka'avid Maike. So Rav Yehuda goes, and he finds Rav Nachman. He goes to Nardo. He finds Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman's on his roof, putting up a fence around his roof. Amarle. So now Rav Yehuda says to Rav Nachman. So now Rav Yehuda says a bunch of things to Rav Nachman now to kind of like. It's like Rav Yehuda was like a shtickle annoyed that he had to schlep to Nardo in order to go to Bezdin. So he's kind of, he's being a little bit edgy with Rav Nachman, kind of showing Rav Nachman who's boss. So Amalei, so Rav Yehuda says to Rav Nachman, Lo Savel Amar, Lo Adam Rav Huna Bar Idi, Amar Shmuel, don't you hold of what Rav Huna Bar Idi says in the name of Shmuel, Kevin Shinizmana, Adam Parnas Al Tziba, that once a person has been appointed as in a leadership position in a community, also Basias Melacha B'fnei Shlosha, so he can't do Melacha in front of 3, so therefore why are you fixing your own roof? Somebody else should fix it for you. I'm just working on the fence roof, just nor a shtickle, just a little bit. So So Rav Yehuda says to Rav Nachman, why are you using such fancy words? Why are you calling a maike a gundrisa? Misanya maike dichsiv baraisa. What, is there anything wrong with using the word maika? Or mechitza dam rabbanon? Or the rabbis didn't say maika, they would say mechitza. Why do you have to say gundrisa? Omele Yosef Mar akarpita. And then Rav Nachman suggests that Rav Yehuda has a seat on a karpita, which is a stool. So Omele misani safsol dam rabbanon. What, you can't use the word safsol, which is what the rabbis use, or itztaba damri inche, or in itztaba, which is what most people use. Well, what are you using the word akarpita? Be normal. Omele lechomar asunga. And then Rav Nachman offers Rav Yehuda an asunga. Omele Nachamo. Rav Yehuda says to Rav Nachman, Achi Amar Shmuel. Shmuel says, Kol ha'omer asunga tilsa b'ramus rucha. Somebody who calls an esrig in asrunga is betzem shtikul hadi. Or esrog k'dikayor rabbanon. Either called an esrig like the rabbis call it, or asrunga de amri inche, or asrunga like the people call it. Why are you? Wait, what? No, I'm sorry. Or asroga the amri inche, or called an esroga like the people call it. Right? Either call it an esrig like the rabbis call it, or an esroga like the people call it, but don't use the word asrunga. Amalei lishtemar anbaga. So Rav Nachman says to Rav Yehuda, why don't you drink some anbaga, some anbiga? Amalei. So Rav Yehuda says to Rav Nachman, misani ispargus the kayur abun. Can't you just call it ispargus like the rabbis call it, or anpik dami inche, or anpik like the people call it? Why are you calling it angiva? Amalei teisi dung. And then Rav Nachman says to Rav Yehuda, hey, look. My daughter Dung is going to come, Tashkinon, and she will serve us. She'll serve us the drink. Amalei. So Rav Yehuda says to Rav Nachman, Hachi Amar Shmuel. Shmuel says, Ein mishtamshin be'isha. We don't have an isha, a woman, come out in front of the men. You know, it's not sneeze. Kitani. So Rav Nachman says, yeah, but she's a kitana. Amalei beferish Amar Shmuel. So Rav Yehuda says that Shmuel says, Ein mishtamshin be'isha klal ben gdol ben kitana. You wouldn't have a fella serving the men, whether she's a ketana or a gedola. Amalei neshadele ma'asham liyalta. Rav Nachman offers Rav Yehuda to say shalom aleichem to his wife Yalta. Amalei achi amar Shmuel kol b'isha erva. Rav Yehuda says yes, but Shmuel says that the voice of a fella is considered erva, and therefore if I say hi to her, she's going to say hi back, and that would be erva. Amalei efshar idei shliach. So Rav Nachman says, okay, but you could send a shaliach to say shalom aleichem. Amalei achi amar Shmuel says, Shmuel ein she'alim b'shlem isha. So Rav Yehuda says no, that Shmuel says that you don't ask a woman how she's doing. Aidei bailas. So Rav Nachman says, okay, but I'm her husband. I could say shalom aleichem for you. Amalei achi amar Shmuel. Rav Yehuda says that Shmuel says ein she'alim b'shlem isha klal. You don't ask how a fella is doing at all. I assume if she's a married fella. Shalchalei devisu. Now Yalta, Rav Nachman's wife, sends to him, Shri lei tagre delo nishvuch kishara ma'aretz. Yalta suggested to Rav Nachman, why don't you just let Rav Yehuda get out of here so it doesn't make you look like an Amoritz? Amalei ma'ishate demar hachos. Rav Nachman says, okay, Rav Yehuda, why are you here? What brings you to Pumbedisa? What brings you from Pumbedisa to Nardo? Amalei. Rav Yehuda says, well, Taskadas Menusa Shadarmar Abasroi. Well, you sent me a summons to come to court by you in Nardoya. Amalei. So Rav Nachman says, Hashta Shusa Demar Lo Gamirna. I can't even keep up with your superior way of talking. Right, as you know, you corrected me all these things that I was saying. Taskadas manusa majdarna lamar. What? You know, how could it be that I sent you a summons? Apik tiskadas manusa mi bechade ve'achzilei omarlei hagav v'adiska. But Rav Yehuda says, what do you want me to tell you? He takes out the summons and he says, look, here's the summons. I'm here. Omarlei. So if Nachman says, so if Nachman says, look, Rav Yehuda, once you're already here, please Tell me, make your case. Said nobody should say that the rabbis are just like a mafia and they're just looking out for each other. So therefore, at least okay, if you're here already, tell me what happened. My time shamte mar leu gavra. So if Nachman says to Yehuda, how come you excommunicated this fellow? So tziyar shlicha d'Rabbanan. Yehuda says, well, I excommunicated him because he was starting up with a messenger of the rabbis, right? With my attendant. V'nag de'mar. So if Nachman suggests to Yehuda, but why don't you give him lashes? The fellow lashes. Why are you excommunicating him? That's worse. Because after all, Rav would whip somebody who gave a hard time to a messenger of the rabbis. So if Yehuda says, well, I didn't whip him because I did something more significant, something more serious. I excommunicated him. If Nachman asks of Yehuda, why did you proclaim that this fellow is an Eved? So Rav Yehuda says, well, because I found out that he calls other people avodim all the time. Vitani, and we taught, kol posel, posel. Somebody who's being posel other people all the time is himself posel. And he never talks nicely and praises anybody and compliments anybody. And Shmuel says that he's going to be posel other people, or claim to be posel other people in the same mum that he himself has. So if he goes around calling other people an Eved, you can assume that he himself is an Eved. But if Nachman says, okay, look, Shmuel says that if somebody goes around calling other people an Eved, okay, so I'll say so if Nachman says, look, I'll say that it means that you can suspect that he's an Eved, but I wouldn't think that you should actually go out and announce that this fellow is an Eved. Alright, so Lachruze Ole Mi Omar, but Rav Nachman wonders if Shmuel said though that just because he goes around calling other people avodim, we can literally make a proclamation that this first person is certainly an Eved. Sadachi v'achi Omar le Ahu Bardine. So now, while this was eventually this fellow from the butcher shop who summons him to Bezdin, the Nudnik. So he says to Rav Yehuda, "Ledidi karesli avda, did you seriously call me an Eved? In fact, I come from the Hasmonean dynasty. You're really calling me an Eved? I come from the family of the Hashmonoim." On my lay, to which Rav Yehuda responds, that Shmuel says, if somebody claims to be from the Hasmonean family lineage, Abdahu, then you can assume that he is Taka in Eved. Mar Leha Domer Baba Amar Rav. So I believe it's Rav Nachman responds to Rav Yehuda, but yeah, what about that which Reb Abba Amar Huna Amar Rav says, Kol Talmid Chacham Shmor Halacha Uva, that if you have a Talmid Chacham who, in the context of a matter, he mentions a certain halacha and he quotes his Rebbe, Im Kodem Aisa Amra Shomen Lo. So if he had said it in the past to the students prior to this situation, okay, so we can rely upon it. But if not, then not. Meaning, Rav Yehuda is being, oh man, my brain is starting to shut down. Dag nabbit. But it shouldn't be too bad. Rav Yehuda had made a claim that this fellow is an Eved. And right, and then the fellow says, "How can you call me an Eved? I'm from the Hasmonean family." To which Rav Yehuda responds, and he says, "Yeah, but anybody who claims to come from the Hasmonean family actually is an Eved." But and then Rav Yehuda was quoting, when he said that, Rav Yehuda was quoting Rav Abba, Amar Huna, Amar Rav. So the question is, if this is the first time that he's ever quoting this halacha about somebody claiming to be from the Hasmonean family, he himself is an Eved, then it's kind of suspicious. Like, why is he if he never taught it in the past, all of a sudden now, when it works in his favor, he's teaching it? So Yehuda responds, Ha'ikar of Masna Dukai Kavasi. Yeah, but Rav Masna holds the same way. Rav Masna lo chazil in Ardoa tleis hashnei. Now Rav Masna had not been in Ardoa for 13 years. Hauyoma also, and it just so happened to be that Rav Masna was in Ardoa that day. Omar le, Rav Yehuda says to Rav Masna, Dichir mar, my Omer Shmuel, do you remember what Shmuel said? Ki koichadakara agudo, b'chadakara amaboro, when he had one leg on the bank of the river and the other leg on the boat. Omar le, hachi Omer Shmuel, Rav Masna says, of course I remember what Shmuel says, called Omar, midveis chashmonoi malko kasino, then if anybody claims to come from the Hasmonean family lineage, Abdahu, you can assume that he is an Eved, Delo Ishtir Minayu, Elai Ravisa, because the only person remaining from that family, from the actual Hasmonean family, was a certain young fella, Disalka Le'igra, that who went up to the roof, Viramya Kala, and she said, V'amr called the Amr mi Beis Chashmonai Ono, that anybody who claims to come from the Hasmonean family, Abdahu, you can rest assured that he is a Eved, Nafla Me'igra, Vamesa, and then she fell from the roof and she died because apparently Herod, I don't know the actual history, but apparently Herod was a slave of the Hasmonean family and he killed all of them, and then he took on like the Hasmonean name, but none of the Jewish girls wanted to marry Herod because he was an Eved. So he ended up only Avadim would marry his family. So you can assume that that anybody who claims that they're coming from the Hasmonean family, well, okay, fine, you're basically saying that you are an Eved. Okay? Achuz ole de Avdahu. So Rav Nachman then made a proclamation that this fellow is Taka an Eved. Right? He is accusing other people of being an Eved. He says he comes from the Hasmonean family. So Rav Nachman made a proclamation that this fellow is an Eved. How Yoma Akraon Kamoksufta ben Arda, and that day they tore up a whole bunch of ksubas in Nardara that this person and his family was involved in, and it was a big headache. Kikonofik Nafke Abasir Lemirgame, and then when Rav Yehuda left the Bezdin, all the people were going to stone him because he made such a headache in Narda with all these marriages, and it's a whole mess, right? All of a sudden, right, there's all these marriages that they were avodim, and it makes a whole complicated thing. So they wanted to stone him. Amalu. So Rav Yehuda says to them, "Ishtiku, shtiku, people. If you're going to keep your mouth shut, keep quiet. If you're going to keep quiet, keep quiet. Ve'ilo, and if you don't keep quiet, well then Maglino Alaycha, I'm going to reveal about you." Hadam Shmuel, that which Shmuel says, Tarti Zariyosik ben Arda, that in Arda is basically everybody's part of one of two families. Chad Mikaya Dve Yona, Chad Mikaya Dve Urvise. One family is the family of the doves, the other family is the family of the ravens. Vesimonach Tome Tome, Tahor Tahor. And if you want to know which one's which, the Tahor, right, the dove, which is Tahor, that family is Tahor, whereas the raven, which is not Tahor, that family is impure. Shadur Lau Rigma Miadai, right? So meaning he threatened them that if y'all don't leave me alone, I'm gonna, reveal some stuff about your lineage. So Shadur Lau Rigma Miadayu. So they threw all their stones into the river, become Atman Benar Malka, and it dammed the river when they threw in all the stones. Machuz Avyuda b'Pumbedisa, Avyuda announced in Pumbedisa, also Ada v'Yehonasin Avde. Ada and Yonasin are Avodim. Yehuda bar Pope, Mamzira. Yehuda bar Pope is a Mamzer. Bati bar Tuvye, Bura Masrucha, out of haughtiness, Lo Shakil Gita de Cherisa, he was unwilling to accept his get shichur. Okay, he was an Eved. Machus Rava b'Machoza, Rava announced in Machoza, Baloi, Danoi, Taloi, Maloi, Zagoi, Kulam Lifsol, all of them are apostle. Amar, Rav Yehuda says, Rav Yehuda, Govoi, Givonoi. That Govoi are the Givonim from Yoshua. Nesinim, essentially. Dornonisa, Daroi, Nesinoi. So Dornonisa is a place of Nosins. Omar, Rav Yosef says, Rav Yosef, Hani Beikove, the Pumbedisa, this place called Beikove, which is near Pumbedisa, Kulam de Avde. All of them are Avodim. Omar Rav Yehuda, Omar Shmuel, Arba Meos Avodim, Vam La Arba Salofim Avodim. says Rav Yehuda Mashmul that there were 400 avodim. Some takas say 4,000 avodim. Hayudol Fashcher ben Eimer, to a fellow named Fashcher ben Eimer. V'chulam nitmu bekuna, and all of these 400 or 4,000 avodim ended up marrying bas kohens, because the people would see them eating truma, because Pashcha ben Eimer was a kohen, so his avodim would eat truma, and people thought that the avodim were kohanim, and the bas kohens would marry them. And then basically these children were not kohanim, because they were avod, the fathers were avodim, and it made a whole mess. You have these people you think are avodim, but they're not. And any person who you think is a kohen, but they have like an anger issue, so it comes from, it's one of these avodim of Pashcher ben Eimer. Fine. Amar Abai says, Abai Kulu Yazvan B'Shur de Benarda. They all live in a row of houses in Narda. Ufligadu Rabbi Lazar. Now this argues in Rabbi Lazar. Amar Rabbi Lazar Risa Kohen Bazus Metzach. If you see a kohen that's getting upset, Al Tehayra Chariv. Don't worry. Don't think twice. Shneim V'Amcha Kimrive Kohen. That your nation is like the fighting Kohanim, the feisty Kohanim. So according to Rabbi Lazar, Kohanim actually have a sort of fighting-y trait. Amr of Avin bar Ravada Amr Rav Kalanose Isha Sheno Genesla, a fellow who marries a woman who is inappropriate for him. When the Eibishter rests his divine presence, Meir al Kol Shvatim v'in Meir Olav. So he will testify about all of the tribes, but not about this fellow who married somebody who was inappropriate to him. Shneimar, the pasuk says, Shiftei Ka Edus liYisrael. Imosei Ave Edus liYisrael. When is it testimony for Israel? Bizman Shashvatim Shiftei Ka, when the tribes are acting properly as the tribes of God. Amar Rab Chama, Rab Chanina, K'shakadosh Baruch Hu Masher Shchinoso, when the Eibishter rests his divine presence, Ein Masher Ela Al Mishpachos Miuchosos Sheb'Yisrael. He's only rested on the properly lineaged families in Israel. Shenemar, the Pasuk says, "V'Yisayinu Mashem." At that time, the word of God, Eyed Elokim L'chol Mishpachos Yisrael. Begat to all of the families of Israel. L'chol Yisrael Lo Ne'emar. It doesn't say to all the Israelites. L'chol Mishpachos. To all of the families, i.e., the families that have proper lineage. And they will be for me as a nation. Amar Rabba bar Rav Huna, says Rabba bar Rav Huna, Zo Maili Yisera Yesh Ben Yisrael Gerim. That is a benefit that Yisraels, that Yidden have over proselytes, that people born Yidden have over proselytes. The Ilabi Yisrael Ksibu. It says by people born Yidden, Ve'ayisi Loem Lelukim, that I will be for them a God, and they will be for me a nation. Meaning, even if they aren't first turning towards me and they aren't necessarily behaving properly, I will still be for them first a God nonetheless, which will then result in them coming close to me. But by proselytes, it says fakert miuze ariv es libo lagesh selai, who is it whose heart is sweet to come to me. Nu'um Hashem, the word of God. First, you will be for me a nation, and be good and come close to me and be Yidden, good, gewaltige Yidden. And then I will be for you a God. So whereas somebody born a Jew, the Eibishter will come close to him, even if he didn't come close on his own. Whereas by proselytes, the expectation is that they will first come close, make the first move to be close with God, and then God will come close to them. I don't think that's necessarily referring to before they proselyte, but proselytate. Meaning even after they proselytated, they would first make the first move to get close to God, and then God will come close to them. Says that proselytes are difficult for the Yidden like a sapachas, like a boil, like a shchin. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, "V'nilva ager aleim v'nispucha beis Yaakov," that the proselytes will become part of the Yidden. Ksevachat says over here, "V'nispechu uchsevasum laseis v'asapachas." Says by tzuras laseis v'asapachas. Yeah. All right. There's different reasons of how to explain that according to Rashi. think Tosfos gives some other answer, but alright. Friends, that was the fine of Masech Kiddushin. Yeah, we did Asar Yuchsin kind of stuff. Yeah.